Hello everyone, welcome to your new favorite cricket fan channel called Willow and Leather. This is Shravan here with you today. We've done it. Finally, we are at the end of our IPL 2024 season preview. We've gone through all the other 9 teams, done a deep analysis on them, and time for the big one. Time for my preview for my favorite team in the league, Royal Challengers Bengaluru. That's right. The name has changed. We're no longer Royal Challengers Bangalore. Hopefully, the new name brings new luck to this team as well. But thank you so much for tuning in. Let's do a quick recap of how the last couple of seasons went, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so for RCB, not the greatest of seasons last year, finishing in sixth position, barely missing out on the playoffs in the very last game of their league stage. A tough pill to swallow for them. A team that had consistently made it to the playoffs for 3 years consecutively before that, in 2021 and 22, but unfortunately 2023 they couldn't get over the line, and the players and the fans were left dejected, obviously. But things have changed in more aspects than I would have imagined. But some of my key highlights with respect to the changes, obviously, before the auction, they let go of 3 big names in the bowling department, the Triple H, Hasaranga, Harshal, and Hazelwood. So Wanindu Hasaranga to me was a bit of a surprise. I think there aren't too many quality leg spinners who would be available in this mini auction. So I think it was a very brave decision of RCB to let go of someone like Hasaranga, genuine match winner, but we did see him struggle a little bit, specifically in Chinnaswamy, where we were playing last year. And it's such a funny fact that in the last 3 years before that, where RCB qualified for the playoffs, we weren't playing at Chinnaswamy. So, it's ironic, but while most other teams consider their home ground as their fortress, unfortunately for RCB, that has not been the case, and we actually don't have an exceptional record while playing at home. Kind of unfortunate, but I think the team will want to make amends to that record this time around. The other 2 key players, as I mentioned, Harshal Patel, death over specialist, Purple Patel from a couple of years ago, winning the purple cap, but not really having an exceptionally good season last time around. And Josh Hazelwood, I think he was anyway going to be unavailable for this year's tournament, so kind of made sense to let him go. But yeah, I think the omissions of or the release of Harshal Patel and Hasaranga definitely were a little bit surprising to me, just given the fact that it's a mini auction and there probably won't be too many other potential options available in the market at that point of time. But after the release, they did trade in a couple of players. They brought in Mayank Dagar from Sunrisers Hyderabad, and we gave up Shahbaz Ahmed instead. I would consider it almost a like-for-like trade. Both left arm off break bowlers with a little bit of handy experience lower down the order with the bat, but I think Mayank Dagar probably is a little bit more promising, I guess. So again, I haven't seen too much of him except for those handful of games that he played for Sunrisers Hyderabad last season, but it'll be exciting to kind of see what he has in store and how much he can offer to the team. So I'm not particularly disappointed with that trade in any way. I think it's a like-for-a-like trade. The other big trade was obviously bringing in Cameron Green ahead of the transfer window for a whopping 16.5 crores. Exciting player, absolutely no doubt about it. I think billed as one of the best all-rounders in the world, emerging all-rounders in the world, and I think he has the world at his feet. He should have a great career in front of him. Exceptional hitting ability, great with the ball as well. Medium pace, hits the deck, easily someone who can offer you 2 to 3 overs in a game. So I think he's a brilliant signing. Probably not for the price of 16.5 crores. Realistically, I don't think anyone in the IPL is worth 16.5 crores, barring probably someone like Virat Kohli and Mahendra Singh Dhoni. I think those are the only 2 players in the league that deserve that kind of money. But then again, it's the nature of the mini auctions. The dynamics are just crazy. Things are just blown way out of proportion proportion, just because there are demand for certain types of players and the supply is too few, or very limited number of players available who tick all those boxes during the mini auctions. So all in all, I think it's still a great deal, yes, but it did handicap us heading into the auction by having spent so much money. But I think RCB are probably looking at Cam Green as a potential longer term investment, someone they can retain ahead of next year's mega auction as well. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, I think overall, when you look at the quality of the player, I think Cam Green is an absolute gun player. We have actually lacked someone like a Cam Green in our team for many years now. I can't recall a genuine fast bowling or a medium pace all-rounder who can be that lethal with the bat and as effective with the ball for many years now. So I think he ticks multiple boxes, so it's great to have him in the roster this time. Right, and as a part of the auction, we brought in wealth of fast bowlers, Alzari Joseph, Lockie Ferguson, Yash Dayal, and later Tom Curran as well. Alzari Joseph, we've seen the kind of quality and pace that he has. I believe he still holds the record for the best figures in an innings during in the IPL. I think he has a 6-for to his name. Hasn't been used very regularly previously by Gujarat Titans, but I think he adds a lot of extra pace and bounce, especially with the 2 bouncers per over rule this time around. I think he can be more than a handful on quick decks like the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Lockie Ferguson, I think, was an excellent buy. Got him at base price, so it was very, very heartening to see RCB going after a bowler like Ferguson. Brings a lot of pace and aggression, obviously, and is good at bowling in the middle overs, which I think is a great talent to have. Picking him up at base price makes total sense, and I'm very, very happy with that trade too. They brought in Yash Dayal again because it was a mini auction. Not a whole lot of options with respect to domestic pace bowlers that were available. But Yash Dayal has done well for Gujarat Titans previously, barring that one game where he got hit for 5 sixes of the last 5 balls by Rinku Singh. I think he's had a pretty decent last couple of years with the Gujarat Titans. So it'll be nice to kind of see him joining the team as well. Left arm pacer, so adds a lot of value to the team. But yeah, Alzari Joseph, Lockie Ferguson, Yash Dayal, they pretty much picked up the entire bowling roster from Gujarat Titans, which was kind of funny. But it's nice to have that set of fast bowlers, and they brought in Tom Curran as well. Great all-rounder, has been doing a lot of good work overseas in different leagues. So I think he'll add a little bit of depth to the squad as well. But more importantly, in addition to these new purchases, I think a couple of key folks returning from injury, I think, will be the biggest boost for the RCB squad. Rajat Patidar is back again after missing out last season due to a heel injury, and we all saw how much the RCB team missed Patidar not being available to play at that number 3 position. I think they tried like 3 or 4 different players, eventually settled on Maxwell to bat at number 3, and Maxwell obviously was exceptional in that role, but that meant that there wasn't further depth in the order after Faf, Kohli and Maxwell, which was kind of unfortunate. So you could see RCB struggling a lot last season just because of this one key domestic Indian batsman missing in their ranks. But he's back. He's done exceptionally well in the domestic circuit last year, which led to a call up to the Indian Test team. Unfortunately, didn't get to make a mark on the Test side. Some below par performances, but I think he should be able to put that behind him now. And just the fact that he's had an India call up, I think will give him a lot of confidence. And the fact that he's missed out on last year's IPL, he will definitely be looking to cash in this time around, and I think he'll be a big boost to the RCB batting lineup. Also, back from injury this time is our top man, Reece Topley. I think folks remember him playing the first game at Chinnaswamy last year, and then having a horrific shoulder dislocation injury. Was out for the rest of the season, so that was the only game that he played for RCB, but he did show glimpses of what he can offer, and I think he's shown a whole lot of skill and talent playing for England and while playing in other leagues as well. So I think he'll definitely be a good addition or a good person to have back in the roster, and I think he'll add exceptional value to the team too. Right, so those are the key changes heading into this new season. But personally, for me, the biggest change of them all was head coach Andy Flower coming in. So previously, last 3-4 years now, we've had the duo of Mike Hessen as the director and Sanjay Bangar as the head coach. They did a great job taking the team to the playoffs 3 times out of the last 4 years, which is a great result when you think about it. But I think, and I'm a big fan of Mike Hessen as a director. I think he did a lot of things right for the team, set up the right kind of culture, set up the right kind of staff, and fostered a great environment. And I think he was great with helping make some great decisions with respect to auction strategies as well. But Sanjay Bangar, again, he's a well-established coach as well. But I feel like for a team like RCB, you need someone who's a little bit more assertive as the coach. And I think that bringing in someone like an Andy Flower is a great piece of business that RCB has done. And they've also brought in Mo Bobat to be the director of the cricketing operations for RCB this time around. So between Mo Bobat and Andy Flower, both of them have worked together very closely for quite a bit of time in England. So I think they have that chemistry that they share, and I think they have like some very clear plans of how to take this franchise forward. So it's great to see them. But just elaborating a little bit more on Andy Flower's credentials. As a coach, the guy's pretty much done it all. He's led England to the Ashes series win back in 2009, then subsequently won the T20 World Cup with England as well in the West Indies, and then he kind of had a little bit of a downturn in his fortunes as a coach for the England national team, losing the Ashes 5-0, I think it was, and stepping down from that position of head coach there. But then later in 2016, he started coaching in the Pakistan Super League, took Peshawar Zalmi all the way to the finals. So they ended up as the runners-up there. In 2020, he took on as the coach of Multan Sultans, taking them to the finals in 2020, and then winning the title the following year in 2021 with them. Also in 2021, he took St. Lucia Zouks in the Caribbean Premier League all the way to the finals, again losing out in the finals. But that's where he had an opportunity to work alongside Faf du Plessis. So I think that 1 year of shared experience working alongside each other, I think that will add a lot of value to this team as well. It's always great when the coach and the captain get along well, and they've had that history before. So I think that will definitely come in handy too. Besides these, he's also won trophies or titles in the International League T20, the 100 and the T10 tournaments as well. So very, very illustrious career, especially in franchise cricket. And we've all seen what he's done with Lucknow Super Giants over the last couple of years, taking them to the playoffs twice in 2 years. Unfortunate to be knocked out in the eliminator twice, but the guy knows how to take teams through to the knockout rounds. I was reading this fact. So apparently, all in all, in the 10 tournaments or the 10 seasons that he's coached across different franchises, he's reached finals in 7 of those seasons, winning 3 of them, and he has never finished outside the playoff spot in any season. I had to double check and triple check this, but it is fascinating when you think about it, especially in such a volatile format like franchise-based cricket, where there's a lot of fairness in how the auctions are done or how the drafts are done for these leagues. Most teams kind of are fairly well-rounded or well-balanced, so it's always a competitive environment. So there's no guarantee that one team is much stronger on paper than the other, because everyone kind of gets a fair shot either through an auction or through a player draft. So having to reach the knockouts or the playoffs in every single one of those competitions, that is just absolutely unbelievable. So I think he definitely has all the right credentials leading up to this role. It'll be exciting to see what he can bring to the table here. But when you think about it, RCB, I think, will be the final summit for him to conquer as well. Personally, if you ask me, I think being the coach in the world of franchise cricket, I think coaching RCB, a team like RCB, and taking RCB to a title win. I think that is probably the most challenging and the toughest job in the world. Not because it's a tough bunch of players to coach, absolutely not. It's just because the history of the franchise is burdened by the lack of titles over the last 16 years, and year after year that weight just grows even heavier. The pressure becomes even more and more with every single passing year. So I feel like this will definitely be a tough challenge for him, but he is the right man for the job from all things that the data points to. So absolutely very excited to have him on board, and I'm like really looking forward to what kind of magic he can work on this team this year and in the coming future years as well. Right. So quick look at the strengths and weaknesses for this team. Strengths. You don't need to look beyond the batting lineup. The top three, Faf, Kohli, and Glenn Maxwell, the KGF of this team. Last year, we saw all three of them in exceptional form. Rarely does it happen that your three best batsmen all are in such devastating form together, but that is exactly what happened last year. I think between the three of them, they scored more than 75% of the team's total runs last season. Just goes to show their level of dominance in terms of getting good starts and making them count and converting them into some big scores. Maxwell had an absolutely fantastic season last year, batting at number 3. I think the franchise gave him that freedom to still kind of go ahead and express himself despite not having a whole lot of depth further down in the order. I think he definitely flourished as well. But not every season that you will get to see all three of them in such fine form. But the best part is that this time around they have even further depth with the likes of Rachat Patidar being back. Adds a lot of stability to the middle order. And now you have someone like a Cameron Green to come in the middle order as well, who can be absolutely brutal with his ball hitting ability. And to round off the top 6, we have Dinesh Karthik, who has announced that this will be his last year playing in the IPL. So a stellar career comes to an end this season, but he's someone who will want to go out with a bang. Made a fantastic comeback a couple of years ago, re-establishing himself in a new role, setting himself up as the finisher for the team, and thereby earning a call to be a part of India's T20 World Cup a couple of years ago as well, on the back of those fantastic performances in the IPL. Last year, unfortunately, didn't really turn up. His form was lacking. His keeping had kind of gone down a little bit as well, but Dinesh Karthik has proven time and again in his career that his mental fortitude and his ability to make comebacks is what kind of personifies him, and he will be looking to really finish his career with a bang, and what better way than to finish some crunch games for the team and see his team through to a title, to the first title, right? That would be absolutely amazing fairy tale ending for him as well. So the top 6, I think that batting is absolutely explosive, and that is going to be RCB's biggest strength. The other strength that I have noted down here is the abundant supply of fast bowling options. As indicated already, we did buy a bunch of fast bowlers in the auction this time around, and we also had a bunch of fast bowlers in our ranks already. So this applies to both domestic and overseas players. So I'm just looking through this list here, and that list of fast bowlers is just absolutely exceptional. As I mentioned, Alzari Joseph, Reece Topley, Lockie Ferguson, and Tom Curran is a decent pace option as well as an all-round backup option. But in addition to that, domestic fast bowlers, you have guys like Yash Dayal, who's come in, Vijay Kumar Vaishak, who did a good job last year, Akash Deep, who's been doing pretty well domestically and earned his first India call-up as well. And then being led by our very own Mia, Mohammad Siraj, who's been on absolute fire over the last couple of years. So that depth in fast bowling is going to be really, really useful for this team as well. The other key strength, I think, is some good backups in some of the key positions, especially in the pool of overseas players. So, for example, we have guys like Tom Curran who can come in, not a like-for-like replacement for Cameron Green. I think ability-wise, I think Cam Green is a couple of notches higher. But in terms of that role of being a big hitter and bowling some medium-pace overs, I think Tom Curran can fill in for that position if needed, if Cameron Green is out for whatever reason. Similarly, we have another very, very highly rated player, Will Jacks. Unfortunate that he's not got a run since last year, but he's ready there waiting in the ranks if, for example, someone like a Glenn Maxwell or even someone like a Faf du Plessis is not available for a couple of games in between. I think Will Jacks can just slip in there. He can open the batting alongside Kohli as needed, but he can also, bowl a few overs very similar to Glenn Maxwell, right arm off break. So I think he'll definitely be a good backup as well. So I think we have a couple of those key overseas positions covered in terms of backups, and I think these are some of the biggest strengths for the team. Right, weaknesses. There are a couple of glaring gaps there in the team. As has been discussed very heavily post-auction as well, the lack of quality spin bowling options is a big weakness or a big hole in the team. When you look at the roster, we only have Karan Sharma and Himanshu Sharma. Karan Sharma has been around the IPL for several years now. Even for RCB last year, he did do a decent job during the periods when Hasaranga wasn't available due to injury, and he actually, did a pretty good job. No denying that. And Himanshu Sharma is still fairly new. He just got that one game towards the end of last season. Hasn't really established himself yet. But that's pretty much it, right? That's the depth of our quality leg spin options. We will have to see how Karan Sharma probably steps up. I think given he's the go-to bowler right now, he'll definitely get a good run of games, but it's very important that he steps up. But outside of these two, there are no quality spin bowling options in the team, which is kind of unfortunate, which is why I was even more surprised by the decision to let go of someone like Wanindu Hasaranga. I was the most surprised when they let go of Yuzvendra Chahal a few years ago, but let's not even get to that conversation. But even letting someone like Wanindu Hasaranga go and not even like trying to bring him back as a part of the auction, and he ended up going at base price to Sunrisers Hyderabad, that was very, very surprising to me. But yes, that lack of quality spin bowlers is a big hole in this team. And the lack of death over specialists as well. So I listed like this big lineup of fast bowling options that we have. But when you look through those names there, not a whole lot of bowlers have experience bowling at the death. Even someone like a Mohammad Siraj is far more dangerous right at the top of the innings than he is towards the end of the innings in the death overs. Even guys like Alzari Joseph, Lockie Ferguson, Yash Dayal, Tom Curran, all these guys are pretty expensive in the death overs. Their statistics are not too great over the last couple of years when it comes to death bowling. So that is going to be a big question mark as well. A couple of key areas for the team to address, and it'll be very interesting to see how the team goes about addressing these. Right, so that was my analysis. Now let's take a look at my picks for the starting 12 in the team. Again, I'm doing a list of 12 because I'm including the impact player in this roster as well. So to start off with, number 1, Faf du Plessis, our own Captain Courageous, has had really good a couple of seasons with RCB. I think he's stepped up his game season after season. Ever since RCB brought him in as a captain in 22, he really created an impact with the bat, and it's very important that the captain starts performing consistently with the bat. Gives him and the team a whole lot of confidence heading into future games. But despite the stellar run last year, post the IPL, he's had a little bit of a drought when it comes to run scoring. He was here in the US playing the Major League, playing for Texas Super Kings. Unfortunately, didn't get any good scores under his belt. Same thing with the SA T20 League as well. Not too many runs under the belt there. So he is coming in with a little bit of a dip in form. But class players, world beaters, you don't write them off easily. These are the kind of tournaments where players just take it one step higher and bring out the best in them. So that's what the team will be hoping for. That's what we as fans will be hoping for as well, for du Plessis to have another big year. Number two, our king himself, King Kohli. Has been away from cricket for a couple of months now, but he will be raring to go. He will be itching to come back and play competitive cricket again, and we all know how feisty Virat Kohli is, and how much he loves a tough fight. There have been rumors circulating about his position in the upcoming T20 World Cup for India as well. So he will want to quell all those rumors and re-establish himself as the linchpin in this Indian team as well. And what better way to do it than by putting in some exceptional performances in the IPL. So yeah, I think that will definitely be something to look forward to. I think my gut feeling says that Kohli will try and be a little extra aggressive this time around, probably a lot more aggressive than he's been in the last few seasons with RCB. If he can, cut loose, I think there is no better sight in world cricket. Absolutely excited to see how things go, if Kohli gets going again. Right, at number 3, I've slotted in the returning man, Rajat Patidar. We all saw what he was able to do in the 2022 season, playing some very crucial knocks in the league phase, and then just absolutely blowing LSG out of the waters with his emphatic century in the eliminator. That kind of an innings can transform a person, beyond belief. It's the kind of innings that will make him feel that, yes, I belong here. I deserve to sit amongst big names like Faf, Kohli and Maxwell, and I have earned my place here. And I'm sure he would have been gutted to have missed the IPL season last year. But he's back. He scored a lot of runs domestically, and he will be itching to go ahead and prove that it wasn't like a fluke that he got runs in the season a couple of years ago. And he will want to establish himself as a cornerstone for this batting lineup as well. Number 4, Mad Max, Glenn Maxwell himself. Fantastic. I think the way he batted last year was the best I've seen him bat. Absolutely incredible hitting ability. We all know what he's capable of doing. We saw more than glimpses of that in this last ODI World Cup as well. The game that he single-handedly won for Australia against Afghanistan. Battling fatigue, battling cramps and muscle pulls and all of that stuff, and taking the team over the line. Absolutely incredible, scoring a double hundred along the way, by the way. So that if you haven't watched that, please take some time out and watch that innings. It's probably right up there with the top ODI batting innings of all time. Incredible. But he's been in exceptionally great form as well, so it'll be really exciting to see him come and repeat, do a repeat of what he did last year. And I think with those top 4 batters, I think the team will still be expecting bulk of the run scoring to come from them. Alright, at number 5, Cameron Green, the new man in, the big boy. I think again he's shown exactly how devastating he can be while batting for Mumbai Indians last season. And I think between the pitches he got at Wankhede and the pitches he will get at Chinnaswamy, I think it'll be kind of similar. Quick, fast tracks, smallish outfields, and you can expect some big hitting from Cameron Green. And he adds a lot of variety to that bowling attack with some medium pace in the middle as well. Great addition to the team, and I'm really hoping that he starts off his journey with RCB in the IPL with a bang. Number 6, Dinesh Karthik. Question marks on his batting ability and his keeping abilities since last year's IPL. Doesn't really play a whole lot of competitive cricket through the year, but he has been showing up and playing for Tamil Nadu recently, and he's been doing relatively well. But it's been a while since he's played competitively, and IPL is just a different beast altogether. So it'll be exciting to kind of see how he does. Like I said, on the verge of retirement, so he will want to make this season count, and if he can find 50 or 60% of the rhythm that he was in a couple of years ago, I think this top six is just the most devastating batting lineup that you can think of. Right, at number 7, I have listed Anuj Rawat. Again, he's shown glimpses of what he can do last season, coming in later in the innings. I think RCB has tried him at the top of the order, filling in that number 3 spot while Patidar was out. Didn't really, click into place for him. But I think coming in later in the innings, I think in many cases as the impact sub, I think he's been able to have a tremendous impact on the game. Plus, I think closer towards the death overs when there are pacers operating, I think he's a little bit more comfortable against a fast bowler. So I think he might be a good pick at number 7. Also is a backup keeping option. Again, time will tell how comfortable and how fit Dinesh Karthik is behind the stumps. It's always great to have someone like an Anuj Rawat available as a keeping option. And if he's the one keeping, then Dinesh Karthik can be the impact player and just come in towards the end, bat a few overs, and then just rest for the rest of the game. I think Anuj Rawat will have a key role to play as well. There are a couple of other options at this position. Guys like Mahipal Lomror or Suyash Prabhudesai. These guys have been around the franchise for a couple of years now as well. Haven't really delivered big time, but someone like Mahipal Lomror can also come in, especially on maybe spin-friendly wickets, where you would expect spinners to be operating right until the very end or almost till the very end of the innings, and he can be very lethal against the spin attacks too. So that is another option as well. At number 8, I have the new person that we traded in from Sunrisers Hyderabad, Mayank Dagar. Versatile all-rounder, as I mentioned, brings that left-arm orthodox spin option into play as well. Gun fielder, absolutely fantastic, and looks pretty handy with the bat too. So someone coming in at that number 8 position, I think, is probably good enough as a batter to be filling that role. Remains to be seen how much of an impact he will have, but especially while on the road touring some of these slow turning wickets, I think he might be able to create some impact there. Right, so heading into the bowlers, number 9, Karan Sharma. As I mentioned, the only established leg spinner in the team. He will have to play a bulk of the games for sure, and he will need to have a big season, a much better season than last year, for RCB to have some sort of a chance to make it to the business end of the tournament. Again, he had phases of good games in between last season, but then there were just games where he was completely blown out of the water. So we will have to see how effective he can be. I think the more consistently he plays, the more consistent we can hope he will be with his bowling, and I think the better off the team will be. But remains a challenge. It remains to be seen how well he will fare, especially on a ground like Chinnaswamy. It is a bowler's graveyard. It is especially a graveyard for most spinners. I think besides Yuzvendra Chahal, no other spinner has found it easy going at Chinnaswamy. And that will definitely be a challenge that he'll be up against. So we'll see how he does there. Cool. At number 10, I have Vijay Kumar Vaishak, local boy, Karnataka boy, has done really well last season, coming in as a rookie. I think he's done all that the team would have expected of him, has shown great heart in bowling some of the key overs in the middle and also towards the end, has shown some great variations with slower deliveries as well. So someone like him will again come in very handy, not just in Chinnaswamy, where he did pretty well last season, but also in some of the other slower pitches where the ball might grip on the surface a little bit. Those variations will come in very handy. So especially not having someone like Harshal Patel in the team this time, I think there'll be more responsibility on Vaishak's shoulders to be that change-up bowler and try and outfox the batsman more. Right, number 11, our very own Mohammad Siraj, as I mentioned earlier, has been in fantastic form. We all saw the kind of damage he did in the ODI World Cup as well. He had a pretty decent season last time around for RCB. A couple of years ago, not that great a season, didn't really show up. But yeah, if he's on fire right at the top of the innings, I think he can be more than a handful. One thing I would definitely like to see more of from him is his ability to close out games and bowl more effectively in the death overs. I think that's an area where he's probably not been as effective over the last few years. So that will probably be something that the team will want him to do this time around. Again, especially because we don't have the likes of someone like a Harshal Patel in the team to be able to cover some of those death overs. But yeah, big season coming up for Mohammad Siraj as well. And at number 12, this will be one of the overseas pacers. But to start with, I've slotted in our top man, Reece Topley. Again, someone who can bowl with a lot of heart, left arm pacer, so adds that variety to the bowling attack as well. Can bowl with good pace, but can also vary things as needed. Good at the top of the innings and through the middle as well. So I think he might be the first pick for the team as the overseas bowler. But then, if needed, they have a lot of options to tweak around with, and they can go in with someone like an Alzari Joseph for that extra pace and bounce, or even someone like Lockie Ferguson. I think all these are great options to have in the roster, but to begin with, I'd probably give Reece Topley a go, especially because he started off well for RCB last season and had to deal with an unfortunate injury. So I think I would put him in the starting lineup for the team for the first few games, and hopefully he can have a good impact on the team as well. Right, so that was my list of probables for the starting 12 for this team. Predictions wise, look, I think as I mentioned, there are a couple of glaring holes, but that batting order and that depth of fast bowling resources, I think they can single-handedly take you through or win you multiple games on their own. But yeah, I think this team is going to be looking at basically outscoring their opponents every single game. If they're batting first, they will want to bat the team opponents out of the game by scoring 200 plus runs, especially if you're batting on a pitch like Bangalore. On the flip side, they will feel confident and comfortable to chase any kind of a target, and there could be some big targets that are set for them just because of their lack of depth in some of these areas of the bowling department like spin and in the death overs. So they need to be mentally prepared to be scoring 200 plus runs almost every single game, but they have the firepower in their batting to do it. So it'll remain to be seen how the team goes as a whole. But like I mentioned, this time around, having someone like a Patidar and a Green in the middle of the batting lineup will free up guys like Kohli a little bit more as well, and Faf, Kohli and Maxwell can play a little bit more freely, don't have to bear all the responsibility on themselves. So I think that will hopefully lead to better performances across the board from all these batsmen as well. But yeah, if the batting can really push through and some of these bowlers can come to the party, then I think RCB is definitely a contender for making it to the playoffs. But what I would like to see from RCB, and I think this is more of a mindset change or a mentality shift, is to not just barely try and scrape it and make it into the playoffs, but really try and shoot for the top two. Again, ambitious, especially with some of the gaps that I mentioned in the team. But as I mentioned, right, it's a funny game. RCB will be riding high on the back of the WPL victory as well. I mean, say what you might, it's a completely different tournament. Yes, understood. But the fact that RCB now has a trophy, I think mentally will help unblock some of these players and will also be an added motivator for some of these players to do better this time around. And when you have personalities like Kohli, Maxwell and Faf du Plessis, and even a fighter like Mohammad Siraj in the team, funnier things have happened. So I think this team can achieve great things with the lineup and the roster that we have to, led by Andy Flower as our coach. So we'll see how that turns out as well. Cool. So that was my preview for RCB. Hope you liked it. as as Virat Kohli mentioned in the RCB unbox event, Idu RCB'ya Hosa Adhyaaya. It is a new chapter for RCB, Royal Challengers Bengaluru. The name has changed. We have our first title in the trophy cabinet. So yeah, things might take a turn from here. Hopefully, it is a new chapter for RCB, and these boys can script a historic season for us this time around. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. That is the end of the IPL preview series. Thank you once again for supporting this channel. Please do like the videos, subscribe to our channel, and share these with your friends and family. I'll look forward to catching you in more exciting videos as we cover parts of the IPL over the next several weeks. Cheers, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.